Hi everyone, thank you for taking the time to tune into this video, which is focusing on the library resources that are available electronically through John Wood Community College. So the video here is just going to spend some time walking you through the library's webpage and give you a good introduction to databases and help you to discover ways that you can find the best, most high quality sources that are available. So if you are a student who's preparing an informative speech, this would be a great video to help you learn where you can find really great sources. If you're a student who's writing a research paper, whether your goal is to inform or persuade or establish an argument for your audience, this is going to be a helpful video. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you so that you can see. Okay, great. So now you should be seeing, I hope you're seeing, let's move this over here and make me a little bigger. Okay, that way you should be able to see both me and this screen, and we'll see if we need to adjust this as we go on. All right, you'll see that I am on the landing page for BlazerNet, and so when you log yourself in, you usually come across this sort of panel of options. Usually you'll be navigating to Canvas or email, things like that. I want you to navigate down to Library and just hit the button. You can also navigate to this very same page that you're seeing right now through jwcc.edu and then navigate to the library page. I find that BlazerNet is easier to do this because it's just one simple click. There's no searching. You're not going through multiple pages. And also, if you're logged into BlazerNet and you access the library this way, it'll almost never prompt you to enter a password or things like that as you get into these databases and more nuanced features connected with the library webpage. So you're here at the landing page, and there are a few things that are happening. So let me explain what these buttons are that you'll initially be seeing once you log into the library webpage. First, down here is a button for My Library Account. So let's say you already have books that are checked out or books that you have requested through Interlibrary Loan. Going to your library account shows you a good list of all of the things that are checked out right now, maybe the jobs that are in progress. So if there are materials that are coming to you from another library, that'll all be accounted for there. It is super, super easy to renew your items that have been checked out through your library account. And so that's a helpful button if you check out physical items, whether they're from the stacks in the physical library at John Wood, or you've ordered in research materials from other libraries in the iShare consortium. You'll be able to track all of that from that account. You'll also see that there are two tabs, and usually you'll be navigating to databases and articles if you're doing online research, but we'll get to that in just a second. What we have here under Books, Video, and More are links to our catalog and the iShare library catalog, and then WorldCat. And if you're wondering what the difference is between these three things, just let me take a moment to explain. So the John Wood catalog is a catalog of all of the materials that are housed within John Wood Community College's library. So that this single institution's entire library catalog is there. If you go to number 2 and you're searching in all of the iShare libraries, the iShare network is a consortium of, I think, exclusively Illinois-based colleges all over the state. Some of them are community colleges just like John Wood. Some are four-year institutions. So we're connected with lots and lots of libraries, dozens of libraries within the state. And we've all agreed as part of this iShare network to, you guessed it, share our materials. And so if you're thinking about doing some research on a complex topic, maybe there's not much that's been written about it, maybe it's sort of a fresh topic, and maybe you're in need of research materials, perhaps John Wood won't have much in its own catalog from which you can pull research materials, but chances are that in the iShare library network, you'll be able to connect to a greater realm of resources. And all of those are available to you just by virtue of being an enrolled John Wood student, meaning that your library card, which is essentially the same thing as your ID, is going to give you access to not just all of the materials here at John Wood's library electronically and otherwise, but it also gives you access to all of the physical materials available in any iShare library. What's more is that with the iShare network, let's say you you're close to Knox College, and Knox College is one of the libraries in the iShare system. If you are close to another college, you can have your materials sent there just as easily as you can have them sent to John Wood Community College. So when you check out items through any of the iShare libraries, it'll give you an option to choose where you want that item to be delivered for you. So also just a helpful hint, if you are a Quincy resident, Quincy University's library is also open to you. So anytime you want, you can go in with your John Wood ID. If the John Wood library that's out at the 48th Street campus doesn't have what you're looking for, pop over to QU. You have access to everything in their catalog, everything in their stacks, and you can check out items there using your John Wood ID. So a lot of people don't know that, and that's just something I wanted to share. Now the third option is WorldCat. And WorldCat is a vast, vast catalog of all kinds of excellent, excellent sources. Problem with WorldCat is that just because it exists in WorldCat does not mean that it exists within our network, even within iShare. So if you want to know just generally what resources are out there, WorldCat would be a good way for you to figure out just what exists in terms of research on a given topic, but that might not always overlap and sync up with things that you have access to. So I would generally encourage students to be searching through the catalog. If you want something live here today for John Wood, choose that first option of just searching our John Wood catalog. Or if you're interested in looking at other sources that are available from other iShare institutions, do a search there, but I wouldn't go any broader than that. Otherwise, I think you're going to be encountering lots of sources that you're really like, ooh, yeah, I'd like to have that, but we may not be able to get that particular source for you. So that's the first tab that you're seeing under books, videos, and more. And now we're going to look into databases and articles. So I would assume that the majority of your research students have a more and more clear preference for finding their materials online, which is fine because this is different. We live in a different age than when I went to college, when materials were just starting to become digitized. So maybe you can find this article in full text online, but probably not, which means that you're going to walk to the library, find it in the stacks, make a Xerox copy of it. I'm really making myself, I'm really dating myself here by explaining how that used to work. But now we find that it's very quick and easy for materials to be digitized. That's sort of a prevalent trend within library systems and within academic journals to have them available in this full text format because it's easy for them to be published and shared that way. John Wood Community College is paying a lot of money to connect to these databases and subscribe to these journals so that you have access to this really high quality information. Now let me show you how to access it. So under databases and articles, you're going to see this nice thorough drop down. These are all of the databases that we are connected with via John Wood. So you have, look at them, there's tons of them. And it might seem overwhelming at first to sort of figure out what's the library database that you would prefer to use. There are many different types. Some are indicated by discipline, so I know that there are nursing ones, I know that there are medical journals, there are historical, art and architecture. I mean, there's all kinds of subject-based databases that you can use. Some of these are, it's less clear what they're connected with, what types of sources it will bring up, just because Credo reference, what's that connected with? I don't know, just click on it. Really a lot of figuring out how to use these databases won't come so much from me in this video giving you a tour, although this is sort of like unlocking a door and explaining just the basic parameters of how our library system functions. Really, you're going to learn a lot just by clicking around and looking in these databases and seeing what sort of sources you can find in one database versus another, which means that you need to dedicate some time to exploring the library in terms of its electronic resources. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Let's keep moving, and I want to show you a database that I would recommend, and it's not far from the top of this drop-down menu. It's called Academic Search Complete. Academic Search Complete is connected to EBSCO, and I think it's a really good source because it's connected to lots of other databases, and so it will pull from lots and lots of different disciplines and provide you with a pretty good comprehensive return on your searches. So here it's asking me to log into BlazorNet. So if you have your password auto-saved, this is quick and easy. And then once you're in, you're in. Hey dude, come on. All right, and then once it brings you into EBSCO, what you'll see is it kind of looks like a more convoluted version of Google, where there's the search box right up here up at the top, and it's asking you to enter keywords or all kinds of things. Now, you can do a basic search, you can do an advanced search, and there are lots of options down here that will allow you to narrow your search. The thing you need to know as you get into these databases and start poking around is that whatever your research question might be, or whatever types of information you're trying to find on a given topic, these search boxes work differently than if you were to do a Google search or a Bing search or something like that. And so instead of asking it a question, which is sort of a practice that we're used to doing with Google, and asking, do vaccines cause autism? EBSCO will pull some sources for you. Let's just search and see what it does when we ask it a question. It will pull some things, but really the way that EBSCO and all of these databases are designed, when you search, it's really going to give, it's really looking for keywords, and it's using those keywords to find sources that link with the keywords that it can identify. And so here we do find some sources. We found 23 if we limit them to full text. And it's a good idea to look for full text articles, because these are things that you're just a few clicks away from the actual source, the source that you can save, you can print it, you can download it, you can email it to yourself. And so I find that students struggle to use sources that they find electronically in these databases that aren't in that full text format. So we've limited to full text. Now we've gone from 23 sources to just 14. So we also would like for, I want to make sure that, okay, if we're using vaccines and any sort of link that can be determined between childhood vaccines and autism, as you might be familiar, there's probably a lot that's being discussed about this topic, not necessarily all of it reliable, scholarly, of publishable quality, something that would belong in a medical journal, something that would belong in academe. And so what I'd like to do is limit to scholarly, peer-reviewed journals. This is going to make sure that we're getting top shelf sources. We're getting the best information that we can, and you'll see that it eliminated a lot from our search results. So we've gone from 23 to 14. Now there are 3. These 3 sources are looking pretty good to me at first glance. We're looking at publication dates. So the oldest source is from 2008. It's 10 years old. It's going to be up to you, and this is sort of a subjective sort of area. Depending on what your topic is, you'll have to decide how old can a source be to still be worthy of inclusion in your research. But let's just say this was published last year in February of 2017 by a scholar at Brown University, and it's looking pretty good. It's coming from an academic journal, obviously. Let's go to PDF full text. This is the actual source. It's pulling up the actual source, which for people who did research 1,000 years ago, like I did when dinosaurs roamed the earth, is pretty amazing that instead of having to trek to the library in 1.5 feet of snow and pay money to make copies of every single page of this article, it's just boom, right there. And so here's what we see. Let me move myself over a little bit so we can surf. It's giving you the title. It's giving you the author's name. Sometimes you'll see abstracts in academic journal articles. Those are great because they give you a nice kind of preview. Think of it as maybe the movie trailer to the rest of an academic article. So maybe instead of printing out the whole 30-page article that you find, you might instead just start by looking through the abstract and let the abstract tell you, yeah, this does really correlate well with my topic, and I think this would be a good source to use. Print, save, download, email, whatever you want. You read the abstract and you're thinking, oh, you know what? By title, I kind of thought that this would relate to my topic, but it actually really doesn't. Then you can backtrack, and then you haven't wasted time exploring this whole big journal article. You can get in and you can get out. So that's one of the things that I think students find students really fight me on this. Sometimes students really insist that they can find really excellent high quality sources through a search engine like Google. And I'm not saying that you can't find good sources there, but if you're playing around in Google Scholar, chances are you will run into sources that you want, but then when it comes to accessing them, like we've just pulled this one up really quick and easy, we didn't have to pay for this because essentially you're already paying for this as a John Wood student. So here you are accessing this without any additional cost. Google Scholar might say, yeah, here's this great article that you found. We'll show it to you for $28 or whatever it might ask you to pay. And chances are, if you look for that same source within John Wood's databases, I bet we have it. I bet we can find it. The other thing is that when we're moving through a database like those that are associated with EBSCO, the sources that are included in these databases have really already gone through a pretty rigorous vetting system, meaning that they're not going to be searchable in this database if they're total unfounded crap. There is no such safety net that really filters nicely through sources with general search engines like Google. And so I think you're going to find that you might be able to find good sources by hunting around through Google, but you're going to be clicking around a lot. There's really not a way to refine your search to help you keep turning up good sources. So you're going to be spending a lot of energy just sifting through crap. EBSCO has done a lot of the legwork for you in terms of just being a really smartly engineered database that if you're searching using good terms, and you might have to change up, you know, if we're searching for child vaccines, autism, we might use other words like safety or cause or other words, and those might turn up different sources. We found just 3 here that are sort of the type of quality that we want to be using. But this is just something to keep in mind, that this was easy and free. And I'm going to show you another thing that once I show students this trick, they're like, oh yeah, I'm not going to Google stuff ever again when I can find really great stuff here. So here's that. So we can continue to surf through this source, which is short. It's just 3 pages long. So that's maybe another meritorious quality of using a source like this. But let me move myself over and show you. Okay, so here are some buttons. You can save this to your Google Drive, which is an easy, nice shortcut. That's convenient. You could print it out. You can email it to yourself. Surf down a few more of these icons. Find this little gold button, and it appears to have something that looks like an equal sign there, and it says Cite. Click that little magic button, would you? Check it out. So whether you're working on a research project or speech in any of my classes or future classes, this is a great shortcut because no one loves to write a reference page. No one loves to make a works cited page. And so this is a pretty good shortcut. What I like to do, let's just say that we are using MLA. And that's our citation style for this assignment that we're working on. Bloop! Here's your pretty accurate citation, and you can copy it and you can paste it into a Word document. I would suggest doing this as you're doing your research and finding your sources because it's right here for the taking. You're just grabbing it and then barfing it into a Microsoft Word document. Then later on, if you end up not using that source, just delete it. But it's far easier to capture this information as you're pulling up these sources the first time than to have to come back in after you've drafted your paper and now you're building your works cited page and you have to go one by one and find all of these sources again and maybe even build your citations from scratch. Now, I'm not saying that these are always entirely accurate. So EBSCO does a really nice job with formatting, so this is a good model for MLA 8. We're seeing that it's italicizing the names of the publications just like it needs to. It's enclosing titles in double quotation marks just like it ought to. It's really displaying everything just as it should. Sometimes you'll find that extra zeros will be entered here or that things that should be italicized are not. It depends, but you can see that there are lots of different citation styles that are modeled here and really for anything. Maybe you're writing for an intro to psychology class, you're using APA as your citation format. And so here's what this source looks like with an APA citation versus an MLA one. But this is a great shortcut, and it Again, it's that little gold button that says Cite. Yeah, Google's not going to do that for you. And so this is another good reason to be using academic databases, because it is pretty common for most databases. It might not look exactly like this, but usually there's going to be some sort of a button or tool or offering to generate citations for the sources that you find. And I think that that is a pretty good reason on its own, beyond all the things that I've shared already about source quality, to be taking advantage of these databases. So there's that. So let's go back to this source. Let me move myself around a little bit. Okay, so we have different types of sources. These, because we've requested only to see scholarly peer-reviewed journal articles, that's what these are. Icons are indicating that this is an academic journal article available as a PDF in full text. So there's that. We're seeing that it's giving us the keywords that we're hitting from what we were searching for. So really, this is not as easy as Google, but it's going to turn up some really good sources for you. And the advanced search option gives you all kinds of parameters that you can set. Sometimes if you find that you're looking for information on a topic that's science-y, mathy, technology-y, STEMmy, whatever, that you might find sources that are really, really good, but they're not in English. And so sometimes you may want to go through this advanced search option just so that you can make sure that your results are displayed in English, published in English. You can narrow publication dates. You can also, just like we did in that sidebar, select full text or scholarly peer-reviewed journals. We can search for specific publications. So maybe you're finding articles within the Journal of American Psychology, something like that, and that really appeals to you. You want to see if that same publication has more resources on that same topic. You can use the advanced search tool for that as well. But this is just one of a number of databases. So I know that this is a quick and dirty tour of how you can use these databases. Let me see if I can show you any others. I really like this. Is, again, as a reminder, Academic Search Complete is the name of the database that I'm using. So let's see. All right, so here we are back at the landing page for the library. We're clicking on this second tab for databases and articles. Academic Search Complete is where we just were. I like ERIC. I use ERIC for a lot of stuff. If you're looking for encyclopedia information, that might be good. There's all kinds of good stuff here. And again, we also see links to the iShare library and the library catalog. Those are going to be the same exact links that you saw under that tab named Books, Videos, and More. So all kinds of good stuff. The Oxford English Dictionary, if you're looking for the etymology of words, how words specifically have evolved in meaning over time, that's an excellent resource. There's all kinds of good stuff that's in here. Academic Search Complete is nice and broad. There are other similar databases that are here. You really just need to play around with them. But I find that students often, when they've been given a tour of the library and the electronic sources that are available, they're far less likely to continue to fight me on the legitimacy of finding sources online. I'm not saying that you can't find good sources online through a search engine like Google. They're out there, but I think that it's more time and labor intensive to insist on finding those items there, because you're likely going to have to cite them yourself from scratch or insert all of the information about that source into a tool that will create a citation for you that likely is flawed. And also, you may be asked to pay for certain sources, and I don't think that that's okay. And also, you may just, it might look like a legitimate or credible source and really just not be. And so, in terms of finding high quality sources, citations that are already pre-made for you that you can really rely on, you want to just double check them to make sure that they're accurate for the given citation style you're using. I think there's a lot of real benefit from using the online library. So these are those resources. If you'd like me to explain anything else, if you want me to go back through anything in more detail, you're always welcome to send me an email or message. But other than that, this is just a quick tour. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good one.